You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Mark Reed and Ted Durden, only on LA Talk Radio.
Good evening, and welcome to the show. I'm Ted Durden, a Southern Democrat.
And I'm Mark Reed, a West Coast Republican.
And together we are The
Voice of Reason,
a politically driven show where civil discourse is the order of the day, where we believe there are more things that unite us than there are things that divide us. And having said that, I'm going to toss it over to Mark.
Well, one of the exciting things we did just the other night is we went to the CD12 debate between Lorraine Lindquist and John Lee. And we really have a really good perspective of it, actually. Both of us sat through the whole thing, and we were able to get John Lee to answer a couple of questions for us. And we're going to go ahead and play that tape right now. Sam?
It's good seeing you this evening. I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
On the issues of minimum wage in the city of Los Angeles, what are your feelings on forced minimum wage by the city?
Well, you know what? I'm reluctant any time that the business gets involved. That the city tells businesses how they should run their business. I think we should be having a different approach. Too often the city is telling you who your trash company should be, how much you should be paying, what should be on your menu even. I think we should be engaging businesses that are surviving here, businesses that are prospering here in Los Angeles. Let's reach out to them. Let's figure out how we can help them spur our economy, create more job growth. It's something that I think that showed when we started reducing the gross receipts tax for industry by industry. We eliminated for car dealerships, new car dealerships. And
because they're
what
all
happened?
moving out to Ventura County, and then they came back.
What happened? We got an increase of 20% of new car dealerships in our area, which the taxes from those car dealerships and the economy that they create around them far outweighed what we would have lost in the gross receipts tax. I know it's a big Band-Aid to rip off, but I think we need to start looking at ways that we can start eliminating
I think all the small businesses in this community would fully agree with you.
Absolutely.
Two more. 1, 2, 3 punch on the homeless issues. What would be your top 3 things you'd want to do?
Well, the very first thing is we need to first identify that we have to recognize that this isn't just a housing issue, that this is a mental illness issue.
Housing.
This is a drug issue. First of all, that's the first step, okay, in our recovery. And then we have to look at some of the laws that are tying the hands of our officers and their ability to do their jobs. Prop 47. It was sold to us as a Safe Neighborhoods, Safe Schools Act. I believe that was the title.
You got it about right.
Okay, and that was the one that lessened all the felonies to misdemeanors. And we can see out in the field when officers, when you're a person, you can steal $950, not per day, but per incident.
Per incident,
yeah,
exactly.
Per incident,
We're in
and still be
alignment there.
considered, basically
Slap on the
petty
hand.
theft. Of course, officers aren't responding because officers are complaining to me that it takes them longer to fill out paperwork than it does for these criminals to be in the system.
Exactly.
That's a problem. We have to stop that. These people are helping their drug habits, and that's how they're financing the drug habits, by petty theft, by breaking into, it's hardly petty, I shouldn't use that word, but by creating crimes.
You and I know what petty theft used to mean illegal.
Exactly, and breaking into homes, we've had a huge uptick in those numbers throughout the city, and it's something that we need to address.
One quick one, we've got.
All right, welcome back to The Voice of Reason. We welcome all callers to area code 818-570-5085. We just got through watching the interview that we had with John Lee at the CD12 debate in El Camino Real High School. Mark?
I thought the questions, I asked him about the minimum wage. We've discussed it a few times, and let me tell you, I'm really stuck on this minimum wage issue. We talked about it last week, And I had made one slip up saying that Congress had passed a couple pieces of legislation that deemed it unconstitutional. Actually, I misspoke. It's that the Supreme Court did back in 1923, and they've recently addressed it as well as being unconstitutional because it infringes on our individual rights of labor bargaining. But we're going to get into it further. One of the things I also mentioned is I thought it wasn't racism, and I'm actually going to even step back from that. It adds to what you talked about as institutionalized racism.
Absolutely, it does.
And it really does. And to watch the Democrat debates and seeing all of them pushing for a $15, $20, $30, whatever they want to do, is really remarkable because it really appears to be institutionalized racism across the United States. But in asking John Lee that question about minimum wage, how did you like his answer?
I thought his answer was spot on because what he indicated, he said what we should do is talk to the businesses and see what it is that they need. It's not up to the state, it's not up to the federal government to determine exactly how much money a business, especially a small to medium business, can afford to pay its employees. Because as you indicated, what happens is when the minimum wage level gets to a certain point where a business can no longer afford to keep its employees, more often than not, what happens, it is the minority employees that are the first to go.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what happens.
That's why I said it appears to be institutionalized racism because it affects them. And there's so many surveys that state that.
Absolutely.
That it affects the African American community, number one. Mm-hmm. And we talked a little bit about the immigration, how that's affecting the African American community, and everybody's pushing on that. So that's, again, is institutionalized racism in itself, because when they know that it's having a massive negative effect, why in the heck do they keep doing it?
Well, see, that's just it. I don't think. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, go right ahead.
They're just ignorant. They're just ignorant. I could say stupid, but I'm just going to say they're just ignorant.
Do you think it's more just a quest for power and they don't care?
Well, it's pandering. That's all it is.
Well, it's a quest
pandering.
for power.
When it's hard for me to watch the debates because there's some of the fodder that gets spouted out there.
Right.
I just can't stand it. And when I listen to them talking about decriminalizing illegal immigration, it's like nobody is stopping to think about the impact that it has. And especially when I hear somebody like Cory Booker or Kamala Harris go on and on about how, what Joe Biden did, how it destroyed, the communities, the black communities, the inner cities, and he's not stopping to think about him or Kamala or anybody that's on that stage, that they're championing the cause of illegal immigration, that blacks are the first to be displaced. We are the first ones. And I don't think I'm misspeaking here, because there are certain things I just don't get. I mean, because I have the black community coming out in full support of illegal immigration without stopping to think about the impact that it has upon them. But then I think about the converse of that. When there were blacks that were being killed, right or wrong by cops, and with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, I didn't see a whole lot of Hispanics in the crowd. I didn't see Latinos in the crowd. I didn't see that. But we are so quick to support their cause. Where are they at supporting our cause? That's what I want to know. When I stop and think about everything that we do, like I said, the House passes a $4.6 billion bill to help out what's happening at the border. When that money or any other proceeds or anything else they want to do, why not use that to invest into the inner cities where black employment is at an all-time high, to invest in our crumbling infrastructure of schools on the inner cities, to provide greater protection, education, even materials in some of the inner cities where they don't have enough books for minority children.
Well, how about just straight out creating opportunity for entrepreneurship of the black community in areas where it's massively depressed through education, opportunity, and also capital.
You mean like Detroit, where the debate was held?
Slightly, yes, sir.
They need to do something. They really and truly need to do something. And I'm going to go off just a little.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Did you because this is very interesting. You brought up Detroit. But, the recent comments, and we're going to talk about this later in the show as well.
Sure.
The recent comments that were mirrored by President Trump that Barack Obama said, Hillary Clinton said, Bernie Sanders has said, Joe Biden has said, all about Baltimore. Do you think it was racist what he was saying, or do you think he finally brought attention to these massively underserved areas that are being systemically racism implemented on them that's crushing their entire economy?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think what he said was racist at all. I think it is pure coincidence that Elijah Cummings is black. That's the only thing, because Trump did not say anything that wasn't true as far as the condition
he talked about Baltimore.
Well, no, and again, as far as the condition of the city is concerned, as far as its crumbling infrastructure, as far as being rat infested. But again, let's be honest. There's rats all across this country. They're not just relegated to Baltimore. But again, I think the point that Trump was making is, and I've said the same thing. Don't talk about me getting my house in order. Get your house in order before you come for me. Don't if you come for me, I'm coming for you. It's just that simple. Now, Trump didn't like what he said as far as what was happening at the border,
right?
And so Trump felt that Cummings was coming for him, and so Trump went for him. No, what he said wasn't racist. It could have been Adam Schiff that was. That would have been representing Baltimore, and he would have said the same thing.
You answered my question like a true lawyer, with more words needed.
Yeah, I'm a wordsmith.
That Southern Democrat gets going, and that's the end of that. He takes the mic, and he's not even a politician. And he knows how to control the mic.
Yeah,
But the truth of it is you watch the systemic racism that's going on, and I think John Lee answered the question perfectly when I asked him about minimum wage. And it's not the government's responsibility to step into businesses and tell them how to run their business. They can protect the consumer from illegitimate practices of businesses, and protect them, the poor from the wealthy of these multinational corporations that are being talked about, have been able to profitize everything possible. With that, we're going to take a 1-minute break to pay our bills, and we'll be right back, and we're going to discuss it a little bit further. If you'd like to call in, the number again, Ted, is
818-570-5085.
See you in a minute.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason, hosted by Ted Durden and Mark Reed. The Voice of Reason is brought to you by TurchinLaw.com. If you need assistance with workers' compensation, employment, or labor law legal issues, check out TurchinLaw.com, 818-230-3110, 818-230-3110, Turchin Law. We're also brought to you by Honda. If you want to purchase or lease a new Honda, call 818-357-4120. Now back to The Voice of Reason, hosted by Ted Durden and Mark Reed.
Well, I think we've discussed that quite well about his response, John Lee's response to the minimum wage and businesses within CD12, and I think he's got a good grasp on it. I liked his answer. And then I asked him a second question about homelessness. We've discussed homelessness several times on this show, and a couple of times on Steve's show as well. And what was his response when I said, "What is your 1, 2, 3 punch to deal with homelessness?" I liked it right off the bat. We got to basically stop looking at it as just a homeless problem or affordable housing. It's a serious mental health care and drug addiction issue.
Absolutely.
And how they deal with it. Now, Los Angeles City has now authorized the renewal of the law, the civil code law that you can't sleep in your cars.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so they're going to start enforcing that now to help give the police, again, their authority back to start dealing with troublesome areas. They may not enforce it in every area, but it's, again, another arrow in their quiver to be able to deal with troublesome areas that are bringing crime, drugs, infestation, filth, and everything else, or dumping their feces on the street. But again, I like John Lee's response to that. He's looking outside of the box. He isn't falling into what I call the industrial homeless industrial complex,
Right.
because they now have announced that the homeless units with the wraparound services, just to build each unit, not the entire building, each
It's
unit.
like $500,000.
No, it's up to $700,000.
That's insane.
I don't
That's-
even live in a $700,000
That's
house, and I would. I think I'm going to become homeless and move into one of those houses. Let me tell you, wraparound services. I can get drugs. I can get mental health care and everything. You know, people say I'm running for office. I need mental, therapy,
Yeah,
right? So sometimes I have to agree to it. But the truth of it is $700,000 a unit.
That's crazy.
Is obscene.
It is.
I mean,
It really
it's
truly is.
absolutely obscene.
Did someone just announce their candidacy?
No, I have not announced my campaign. I've run in the past. I've run in the past, and everybody, even Mike Reagan, when he talked about it, he said, "You're insane. Why do you keep running?" I've run for office several times,
Right.
Against the same guy, Brad Sherman.
Right.
And the reason why I've run against him is very simple. I disagree with his policies. He's a smart guy. And think about this. What is going on in the city of Los Angeles? Okay? No insult to Democrats at large, yourself. But Democrats have been in charge for how long? This is what we've got.
Decades.
So people have to understand, either they change their mode of operation in their election poll booth, okay, and think outside of the box, or they're going to keep getting the same, and it's going to get worse.
Yeah, because
And
they're entrenched.
Yeah,
They're entrenched.
I married a Democrat, okay? I got great business partners that are Democrats. It's nothing against the Democrats.
No.
It is a philosophy of the leadership within the Democrat Party now that is taking the San Fernando Valley down a road that is horrible. The Democrats in the city of Los Angeles as a whole is taking it down a road. Not the Democrats that live in the city, but the Democrats
But the
who
party,
are running the
but,
city.
Yeah, but the party in general.
Yes.
And that's because of the fact that there's no follow through. They talk a great game about changing this and changing that. We need to do this and we need to do that. They're given all these funds. They're given these monies. They're allotted monies that sit in accounts. And nothing is done. Absolutely nothing is done.
No, it's not just sitting in accounts, Ted. Come on. They're spending $700,000 a unit. Where do you think it's going? It's going to developers. Once the developers build the buildings, they're going to nonprofit organizations. They get a budget to run the thing. This is an incestual process.
So we're talking corruption.
Massive corruption, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, there you go.
And now
There
this
you go.
gets in this a little bit further, because this is where my past opponent Sherman has not spoken up. We've spoken about racism.
Right.
Anti-Semitism is racism. It's a filth and scourge on this earth, without a question.
That it is.
Omar has admitted to her racism. She's come out and made several other statements again. Same thing with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's the same thing. Tlaib, same thing. Sherman has stayed very silent about it. There was a protest because Omar had a fundraiser for CARE and for the Muslim Brotherhood right in the dead center of his district. And he was silent. He didn't say a word about it. Now, let me ask you, do you heard about the defacing of the Hebrew Discovery Center in Woodland Hills?
Yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
This is an uptick. When your elected officials are silent about these anti-Semitic comments, okay, you're going to have extremism, white supremacists, and everything else that are going to come out and think, I can get away with it.
Yeah,
so
but-
they
but-
just do it.
Yeah, but you have to understand, and I hear what you're saying, but I think that goes across the entire political spectrum.
Absolutely.
Because again, it's not just okay.
Well, let me ask you this.
But give me a second.
Okay.
Give me a second. Okay. I think about what's your name, Omar?
Omar?
Okay.
Yes.
The only issue that I have is that after she got elected, there was an RNC rally in Virginia.
Right.
And outside there was a sign, and it had a picture of the Twin Towers being blown up and on fire.
Right.
And under it, it said you promised you would never forget. And then it had a picture of her next to it, and it said, but it looks like you did. That was wrong. That was wrong. Number two, we all know what happened down in Charlottesville. And I think intended or not, this particular president has given, I don't want to use the word credence, but that's the only word that comes to mind, to the alt-right, to the racists, to the white supremacists. He's given them license to say that it's okay to feel this way. Because after he got in office, after Charlottesville, there was an uptick in attacks on blacks, attacks on minorities. I mean, we have all seen the videos of white people, and I'm saying they were white supremacists, calling the police on blacks for no reason. Now, Omar has been wrong in some of the things that she said. She tried to clean it up and actually spoke to someone who was Jewish, and I asked them, because what she said, one of the comments that she made, because I'm not aware of all of them, one of the comments that she made was, she talked about how cozy the United States was with Israel and not doing anything about the Palestinian homeland, blah, 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 blah. But some saw that as anti-Semitic.
No, but if you, that's not just those comments. She
But
says they were hypnotized. It's about the money, the Benjamin.
That was wrong.
This gets into very historic comments that have been made back in Nazi Germany. That it was very anti-Semitic and deep-rooted. Now, we're going to get into a little bit in the second to last segment. I want to wrap up the John Lee and Lorraine Lindquist aspect.
Let's finish
because
talking about
we're going to discuss President Trump's, how would you say, horrible treats, his demeanor, and comments that he makes that are beneath the, and I've said this before,
office of the president,
exactly.
Right.
It goes above and beyond him. It's about the presidency and the office of the White House, and it's deplorable, some of the things that he does say, and I've said that all along. Right. But when we got there at the debate, you know, Steve and I, our producer, we went up to John Lee. He followed through with what he says. He has been raised in the San Fernando Valley. The San Fernando Valley has raised him. He's been out there, and he's got a track record like you wouldn't believe in the Valley.
Right.
And he was very gracious, giving us a few moments before the debate, even though he very graciously said, I hate these things. You know, and they're not fun. I've been in several debates, and they're not fun to go through. You have to do a lot of prep work. But we went up to Lorraine Lindquist, and we asked her. Now, both of them I've been trying to get on the show.
Right, I remember
both
that.
of them
Yeah,
have rejected, and of the two campaigns that rejected it the nastiest rejection has come from her staff.
Really?
But it was seconded, the nastiness was even seconded, in my opinion, the way I read it, and you correct me if you read it differently, when Steve and I went up to her, and she had a couple of moments, we asked her, after the debate. Okay, we bought that. We're not going to push or pressure her, try to corner like a cornered,
like an animal.
I can't say animal. Cornered creature, cornered politician. That's a better one, right?
Okay.
Because I don't want to see an animal that come after me calling her an animal.
Oh, whatever. Right? Okay.
I know, but it's a PC world. They could attack me for anything.
Well, feel free to call in at 818-570-5085. You want to complain about me using the word animal? That's fine.
But after the debate, not very many people went up to her. More people went up to John Lee. But we went up to her again. Were you going to give us a couple of minutes to ask you a couple? Yeah, sure. Let me talk to everybody. She sat there in very, not overtly, very, very obviously.
No, overtly is right. Yeah.
She just did not want to talk.
No.
Now, this is a person who sat up there on that stage, that debate night, and said, I'm sick and tired of our city councilmen not fielding phone calls, not talking to their constituents, not being held accountable to their constituents, and yet she avoided us like a plague.
That she did.
She did not want to answer a couple of simple questions that the district could listen to.
Right.
And we've got quite a few, this show has actually taken off pretty well off the bat.
It has.
Okay, and a lot of people right here in the Valley listen to it. But then on top of that, she's running a campaign that's an environmentalist campaign. She believes in the New Green Deal. She believes in shutting off all gas in the Valley. She thinks that she can get rid of all gas and diesel-fired cars by 2030. There's very lofty concepts and ideas that she has, but yet she was going after John Lee because John Lee just says, look, yeah, I've taken money from the oil companies and the gas companies and stuff because we need to regulate them. It's not going to change my ethics pertaining to regulations and dealing with the safety and running of the facilities and operations, and we will work to get more alternative fuels. But she sat there and railed and railed and railed, and within a week after that, it came out. She took, I think it was $1,500 or $2,500 from the gas company. And when she got called on it, she returned it.
What else do you expect from a woman who wears a scarf up to her chin in 110-degree weather and 75% humidity?
I'm not going to go on with it, Steve. That's your opinion. I'm not. It's not a woman. It's me.
No. It's not. It's not my opinion. It's a fact.
It's a fact.
I was schwitzing, and she was wearing a scarf.
Yes, I know. It was hotter than heck in that room. I'll tell you, I was sweating to death. But the truth of it is I've sat on several national committees. I've been the national rep for American Indians. I have done a lot of work throughout the nation. And when I'm sitting on committees or I'm sitting on panels, and like our first episode when we talked about racism, I look at everybody colorblind. You're not a woman, you're not a man. If I'm talking to you as a man, and we're talking man to man, you're a man. You're not a man of color to me. I'm finding out if I like you or not. I'm finding out if I can trust you. When I'm sitting in a committee room or I'm sitting on a board of directors, you are another board member. Mm-hmm. Lorraine Lindquist is not a woman to me. She is a constituent who is going after the seat of city council to represent everybody in the district. And she has come across as an individual who does not care about the constituents of opposite thought and opposite beliefs. If you're not an environmentalist like she is, she doesn't want anything to do. She knows exactly who I am.
I'm sure.
She's no questions.
Sure.
She knows.
I have no doubt.
She has no questions about it.
Right.
She is a progressive Democrat. Mm-hmm. Okay, but she is not willing to talk to the district and answer a couple simple questions. That to me was a huge red flag of saying, nope, she's not qualified.
Well, I don't know if that spoke to her qualifications. I tell you what it made me think about. Yes. And I think you're right. I think she recognized you off the bat. And I don't think...
Come on, I've gotten 90,000 votes in the district. I think quite a few people I get talked to in theaters and supermarkets and McDonald's.
But I think she was probably afraid of what type of questions that you would ask. She probably thought it was going to be hostile. But be that as it may, you're running for public office. You should make yourself available to anyone. I don't care what your political affiliation is. You should be willing, you should be eager, in my opinion, to take questions for someone who may be your political opposite. To how else can you better prepare yourself to address the concerns of your political opponent or the other political party?
Well, I'll tell you something, Ted. When I offered for her to come on the show, I was going to give her the entire show. She knew that it was a Southern Democrat and a West Coast Republican that was going to ask the questions. I gave her the opportunity to set the parameters of what subject matters she wanted to address, and that both of us would be asking questions. It would be fair and balanced. And she still said no. So it wasn't about a fear of being sandbagged or attacked with a hostile question. And John Lee got the same offer. But they've been, I understand they've been busy, but heck, I've been asking for 2 months. We're going to pay our bills again, so thank you. If you like it, please call in. We will see you in a minute.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Mr. Ted Durden and Mark Reed. We're brought to you by TurchinLaw.com. If you need any assistance regarding workers' compensation, employment, or labor law legal advice, check out TurchinLaw.com, 818-230-3110. We're also brought to you by Honda Motor Corporation. We've got a commercial coming up, and then we'll be back with Ted Durden and Mark Reed. We'll be right back.
The power of dreams. I am the front man who drives. My power keeps me ahead in the front line. My reputation gets me on the front page. This is how I drive superiority. By being in the front row.
Thank you for tuning in. We're back live. Thank you for tuning in. Our producer is getting to know the board here, so he had me cut off on the first shot there.
Oh, yeah, it was completely my
Yeah,
fault.
absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to call. We encourage you to call in. The number is 818-570-5085. Ted, I think we have a phone call right off the bat.
Okay.
Nope,
They
they
hung
disappeared.
up.
They
They
got
hung
scared
up.
off. Call back if we're here to answer your questions. But I think we've discussed the CD12 enough. I don't want to sound too biased because I was really just addressing what we saw and what we heard. What was your main takeaway, though, of the actual debate?
My main takeaway was this. I thought that John Lee has a huge footprint in the area. He has a proven track record about
one second. Our phone call came back, and I
Okay.
really want to give this person a shot to say hello.
All right.
Caller, you're on the air. Please give your first name and where you're calling from.
Hey, Dad.
Oh, hello there.
That's Mark Jr.
You are on the air.
Currently?
You are right
Yes.
now
Yes,
on the
you
air.
are.
Please ask
I
your
think
question.
he said, "Hey, Ted."
Oh, perfect. So, with the California law that was discussed earlier regarding that people are not able to sleep in their cars, is that also intended towards an uninhabited? Sorry.
Are you trying to say
uninhabited-
unincorporated area?
Sorry?
Are you trying to say an unincorporated area?
Or commercial areas where they are been green lighted to park
Yeah.
now.
Well, actually, in residential. What I'm trying to say is does that involve an RV or a camping trailer per se parking in residential areas?
I have to read because it just came out. I believe it was today or last night, and I haven't had the opportunity to read it.
And it is only in the city of Los
It's
Angeles.
only in the city
not
of
a
Los
state.
Angeles. It's not a state issue, and it's not in the other 85 cities within the county of Los Angeles. It's in the city of Los Angeles. I personally believe what the city council is trying to do, and this is without reading it fully, mind you, is I believe what the city council is trying to do is give the police department some tools in their tool belt in order to deal with some of the unruly, and I mean very unruly, homeless individuals that have some serious mental health care, drug problems, and also a certain amount of blight and drug dealing. I mean, some of the arrests that have taken place in the residential areas where they found guns, they found drugs, they found counterfeit $100 bills.
Right.
The seedy part of the criminal element is using homelessness to cover up their activities. And so I think that LAPD is now being given a tool to be able to go in there and say, okay, look, this isn't happening, you're out of here.
Well, if I had to venture a guess, I don't think it probably does not apply to RVs per se, because I've seen people sleeping in cars. I've seen that, and I'm talking your standard sedans. So if it's an RV of that nature, I don't think it probably applies to them. I think anyone that's sleeping in an RV, the only problem you may have with the police, of course, if it is on private property, but if it's an unincorporated area, then what you may be looking at is if there is a complaint about some sort of criminal activity, drug use, drug sales, something like that. If you park for longer than 3 days, then that would be problematic.
I honestly, like I've said, I haven't read the full ordinance that the city council has actually implemented. If it does apply or does not apply to RVs, I think it's just another tool in the tool belt, and I think it would apply to the RVs. If
You
the
think
RV,
so?
yeah, I think if they're being unruly, they're dumping their brown waste and their clear waste on the city streets, which is a toxic mess.
Absolutely. Well, that's true.
If they're
That's
creating
very
major
true.
problems or parked in the wrong areas, then I think that they have the ability to tell them to get out of there.
Did you have a follow-up question?
Right.
Did you have a
do.
follow-up question?
And I do.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so my issue lies here with the California, I guess, justice system or city council is that it's hard for me to believe that they would do it with RVs, because an RV is considered a dwelling. And to tell someone that they can't reside inside of their dwelling would be unconstitutional. So I wanted to know what you guys think about that.
Well, the
Okay.
original Department of Motor Vehicle ordinance gave it to the sheriff's departments of all local counties to issue a permit for an RV to be parked for more than 72 hours
Right.
on a street, a residential street. But the person had to be the owner of a home, and it had to be within, I believe, 300 feet. They had to get a special permit for that. It was taken to court by the ACLU, and they deemed that to be unconstitutional. So essentially what they've done is they really haven't readdressed it. They haven't addressed the laws that have regulated it, and so it's kind of become a free-for-all. And I hear what you're saying, and I think that some of the ordinance that have been placed where they can park in industrial areas. There's some over there in Glen Oaks Boulevard. I mean, they have, there's probably about 100 of them. They have unhitched trailers. They have RVs that look like they're 100 years old. Something else has to be done, because I've also personally have come across a lot of individuals who have passed away in their RVs from smoke inhalation, carbon dioxide poisoning, because RVs were recreational vehicles that were designed to go out and not live in on a permanent residence, how would you say, statute. They were there temporary to
Right.
go camping.
Let me jump in here for 1 second, because I'm going to
We're
analogize.
going to go ahead and release the call, and we're
Okay.
going to go ahead and talk about this a little bit longer for you.
Okay, I'm going to, as far as you indicated that this is a dwelling, and you're right, but I'm going to go back to something that I said just a moment ago and Mark Reed touched on. Regardless of whether or not that's your dwelling, that's your home, it would be no different if it was just standard 4-bedroom, 2-bedroom brick and mortar. If you are engaged in illegal behavior or product or activity in your dwelling, be it an RV or brick and mortar, well, the police are going to come in and they're going to arrest you. They're going to take you to jail. That's going to happen. So it isn't about the dwelling. Number one, it's about what sort of activity you're going to be engaged in. And again, if you are going beyond the 72-hour city ordinance.
However, Ted, certain activities in your own brick and mortar home are completely 100% legal, where the same exact activities in a car on public property would not be. For example, the current smoking of marijuana laws.
Well, that's very true, too.
Yeah, and your Fourth Amendment rights of undue search and seizure of your I think that kind of covers a lot of it too, of going into somebody's RV and ransacking it, looking for drugs just based on a cop's suspicion something's going
intuition.
on.
Right.
Since we're going down that road, and I wasn't going to bring it up, but how about making love to your wife? You can do it at home as often as you want, but if you do it in a car in public property, that's illegal.
Well, it's
Absolutely.
indecent exposure if you can see it
Right.
through the windows and so
Right.
forth. And at my age, it doesn't matter. It's always indecent. But so. I look at it as I'm going to say it again, as John Lee said, I think it's inhumane, okay, if you're stuck in a temporary moment to live in an RV for a minute, but when you have a city that is allowing individuals to be warehoused in RVs on commercial streets, and it's unsanitary conditions, they don't have the ability to really take care of themselves, there's obvious drug problems, there's obvious mental health care issues. We need to address it in a humane way. We need to really come together, all 85 cities in the county of Los Angeles, in all 58 counties in the state of California, the mayors and the county supervisors really
City
need
councils.
to come together and address it, wholeheartedly address it, and come up with, we're going to go ahead and pick up the call, but we're going to hold off for a minute. But we're
Hi there?
Hello.
Yes,
one
hello,
sec.
you're on The Voice of Reason. What is your first name and the city you're calling from?
Katie, Woodland Hills.
Hello, Katie from Woodland Hills. Please go ahead, and what is your question?
All right, Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Okay, my question is, how was the Lake Balboa, all of those people allowed to accumulate so much garbage out there?
That's a very good question, Katie, and I actually have a video that's coming out here shortly because I went into, if you recognize that, Lake Balboa, and also there's another encampment at the end of Oxnard, right at the 405 freeway, where we're driving down the 405 freeway northbound, and you see it on the right-hand side. It's horrific. Both of those areas are the Army Corps of Engineers properties. So the Army Corps of Engineers has basically stepped off to the side. And again, this is another issue that I have against Congressman Sherman. This is in his district. He should be able to go in there and say, okay, if you're going to allow these people to live, then you need to set up some kind of tenting, some kind of policing, some kind of garbage removal, some kind of sanitation issues. Because let me tell you, I went in there. And you talk about third world countries. This was worse. I've been to Mexico several times, okay, and it's not that bad. It was heartbreaking. It was horrible. I don't know how to explain it. I went in there. There was a woman has been living in there for 6 years. 6 years.
Yeah.
She will talk about LA housing. It's as corrupt as all heck. There was another gal that was in there, probably about 30 years old. Has been living there for 4 years. They say that they will not. The LA Family Housing and their outreach programs will not go in there because it's so filthy. And when they do try to venture in there, they go in there with cops. And most of your homeless will hide. They do not want to be confronted by a cop because the majority of them are drug addicts and the majority of them are ex-felons. They do not want to be talking to cops.
So why won't the Army Corps of Engineers hand off those responsibility to Sherman so he can do something about it?
Katie, you had a last comment. Please continue.
Well, my problem is it's been going on for a really long time, and it just seems like every street corner is starting to look exactly like that here in LA or in the Valley.
Oh, in the Valley.
It's getting really bad.
Katie,
we're going
to talk about this for a little bit longer. Go ahead, and we're going to relinquish the call, but keep listening.
All right, thanks for calling in, Katie.
She's absolutely correct. And like I've said, on my website, my former congressional campaign website at Mark Reed for Congress, I have on the policy aspect the homeless industrial complex, the ways to deal with it, what it is. When we have elected officials who are really turning their back, we have billions of dollars that have been supplied to them by the taxpayers to deal with it, but yet we've been watching it grow and grow. And like Katie said, we never saw this in the San Fernando Valley. It used to be down at Skid Row. This goes all the way back to the 20s.
Absolutely.
This was just downtown LA and Skid Row. Right now, I won't go downtown to the Staples Centers or anywhere. Have you been down there lately?
Not in a few years, no.
It is scary.
But even 5 years ago was bad.
It is
even
scary.
5 years ago
I've had to go down to the workers' comp courthouse on 4th Street in Broadway.
Oh, right.
And it's like you feel like you're taking your life in your hands going down there. But what Katie was talking about is watching what's happening in the San Fernando Valley. You see pockets all through Van Nuys, by the courthouses, by Oxnard, by the park. It is horrible. And when you have MS-13 that was just arrested by the FBI, 22 of them were arrested for murders that were taking place throughout the valley. They would bring their victims up to Mulholland Drive, chop their bodies up with machetes, and throw the limbs down the hill. Okay, we're looking at some serious problems that are being deep-seated and deep-rooted into the mentalities of the criminal aspect that they're never going to be held accountable. And not all homeless people are bad people.
No, they're not.
They have mental issues, they have drug issues, and it's on my tape that's going to happen. We're going to go for one more break again, and then we're going to wrap this up, and we're going to talk about our favorite president.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Ted Durden and Mark Reed. The Voice of Reason is brought to you by churchandlaw.com. If you need any legal assistance regarding workers' compensation, employment, and labor law, look up churchandlaw.com, 818-230-3110. That's 818-230-3110 for Church and Law. The Voice of Reason is also brought to you by Honda Corporation. Now back to The Voice of Reason with Ted Durden and Mark Reed.
Again, please call in if you have any questions. A couple of calls we've gotten have been fantastic questions. 818-570-5085. We look forward to hearing from you. But, Ted, I've talked about the minimum wage aspect quite a few times.
Right.
And what we're seeing is a culmination of years of both Republicans and Democrats turning their back on serious issues in the state of California. We look at it in Baltimore. We look at it in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And it's both sides.
Yeah, it's across the political spectrum. Absolutely.
I won't just blame Democrats.
No,
and,
no.
And it's not that I think our corrupt leadership at this point has sat there and kicked the can down so far down the road that we're watching the repercussions of it. And until we get real statesmen and stateswomen in office to deal and really tackle the problems, and I mean
agree.
tackle them head on and
I
say,
agree.
look, I'm sick of this, and not go for these political plays of calling racism this, sexism, all this. I'm sick of it. I'm definitely sick of it. And on that note, we have both agreed to touch the third rail. I mean, this is a real third rail.
There
We
it
might
is.
get some calls on this one. It's the comments that continue to come out of our president.
Yeah.
Now, I've sat here and I've defended some of his policies because we have the lowest unemployment rate in all minority groups. There's pockets everywhere because of bad leadership in areas. We have stock market, how would you say, records being hit all the time, manufacturing coming back here. We have the trade deficits being challenged with China and every other country on the face of the earth. We have new trade deals being negotiated. But gosh darn it, I kind of agree at a lot of the times that somebody needs to take that phone out of his hands and stop that tweeting.
Oh, yeah,
You know
they
that?
do.
They really do. But
It's interesting in the sense that everybody has the right to free speech. Everybody does. And Donald Trump, President Trump.
Not when I was a kid.
Well, I'm not talking about inside your house, because like I told you, inside my house, democracy ends at that white door. Okay, that's on the other side. Inside here, it's a monarchy. It's a dictatorship. Don't get it twisted now.
Even then,
Okay.
remember what our parents taught us about
right.
freedom of speech. Inside the house, if you said something nasty or you got out of line, disrespectful to your parents, you got that ivory bar of soap shoved down your throat.
Well, it's
But you also learned going out in the real world. If you sat there and got sassy with somebody, you got your nose punched.
oh yeah,
know that?
it's like even my daughter.
You got the belt and everything else brought out. In our family is switches. We had to go out and pick our own branch off the
I remember
tree.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, was
it
that masochistic or what?
But you know what? It taught us.
Yeah, it
this
did.
is why you, as a Southern Democrat, and me as a West Coast, dinosaur of a Republican, right, could sit at the table and talk, because we were
Absolutely.
taught civility by our parents, and our parents did not hold back a smacking us upside the head
No.
when we got sassy.
No.
And society did the same thing. And this is what we're watching on Facebook. We're watching this on Twitter. Is all these keyboard warriors that if they confronted you face to face, oh my God, you'd smack them upside the head. They're so outrageous.
Absolutely. I think, and just as a quick aside, I think reality television has destroyed our civil discourse across the spectrum, across social media. I think that it has. And I think that President Trump is no different. He speaks to his base. And that's all wonderful, that's all great. But there's been a loss of political decorum. And again, I don't think what he said to Elijah Cummings was racist.
Right.
I don't think it was. But to use a colloquialism, he was out of pocket. He should not have attacked a congressman like that about a revered city. I don't care what state it is, what state or what condition it is in. Okay, as one of the leaders of the free world, if you know there's a city that's in dire need, extend a helping hand. That's what you do. You don't hit them upside the head because you may disagree with what he said
Haven't they sent several millions of dollars to Baltimore, and it has not taken care of the problem
to a certain.
And I think that President Trump was really lashing out in his typical petulant frustration.
I understand
that he
that.
has, because Elijah Cummings is going after him about the immigration issues.
Yeah, but again,
whose wheelhouse is the immigration issues?
No,
in?
but no, I understand that, Mark.
Presidency
But again, you have to understand, it wasn't a personal attack against Trump.
Oh no,
it wasn't. And that's one of my issues. He engages in personal attacks, even like what he said about the squad. Go back to where you came from. Everybody viewed that as racist.
Yep.
I didn't view that as racist, and I'm going to tell you why. During the course of my 61 years, I have witnessed and heard people disparaging this country. I'm talking about foreign born. And I would look at them and say, you know what, if you don't like what's going on here, go back to your country. Now, that's not racist. That's not racist at all. What that is I'm getting offended by you talking about this country. Okay, don't talk smack about it. Don't talk trash about it. Do something about it.
Ted,
be part of the answer
can I ask
and don't be part of the problem. Go ahead.
Can I ask you, did you serve in the military?
No, but my father did.
Your father did.
My father did. And he died when he was in the military.
We have that in common. I didn't serve. I wanted to serve. I wanted to follow him. I have 6 brothers, okay, and 4 of them did serve. My father was a lieutenant commander in the United States Navy, served in World War II and the Korean War. All of my uncles did the same as well. My brothers all served in Vietnam. So when I listened to the Democrat debate last night, I listened to talk about the definition of patriotism. Look, America has its kinks in its armor. It has its kinks in its history.
It's not a perfect system.
Yes.
Not
I mean,
at all.
look, we were passing the Civil Rights Acts in the 60s and 70s, 85, tweaking it again, to add disabilities. America is not perfect.
No.
But gosh darn it, I wouldn't want to live in any other country.
No, and I would.
And that's it.
No.
And I'm sick and tired of people as well denigrating this country rather than offering a solution. How do we make it better?
Agreed.
Racism exists in the character and the edifice of every human being on the face of the earth. So as a nation, as leaders within our country, how do we deal with it and how do we make it better? We don't make it better by each of us looking at each other on the other side of the table going, Ted, you're a racist. You don't like white people.
I know. And
it doesn't work. It's a crock of garbage.
But even beyond that, even beyond the comments that he made about the squad, even about what he said about Logic Commons, it happened on early in the campaign when he made fun of a disabled person in a wheelchair.
That was horrendous.
I mean, it's beyond the pale. And I think my point is simply this. As the president of the United States, I don't expect you to be my moral barometer. I don't expect that. I don't. But as representative of my country, I would just like to see you just demonstrate better political decorum. I would like to see you, because he said it at his rallies, although he said it rather tongue-in-cheek and maybe even sarcastically, sardonically. He said, I can be presidential if I want to. I just choose not to. Well, that's not a good thing. He's a counterpuncher. You come for Donald Trump, he's coming for you.
Absolutely is. Michael Cohen, before he got taken out,
that's how he is.
He said it flat out. He's a counterpuncher.
He thrives on litigation. I don't think there's ever. I can't remember the last administration where the president has been subpoenaed and investigated as much as he has.
Never has.
But part of him relishes in that because he's a fighter.
But beyond, do you think that President Trump is a symptom of a problem in America, where we have 27% of the people in America have no religious affiliation? We have a moral decline that's taking place. We have an internet and Facebook and Twitter, and we used to have this, now we have Snapchat. There is such and it's kind of, and I'm not saying moral decay like I want to push my morals on somebody, but there definitely is a moral decay in America, to where we elect somebody that has a pair of chops on him like we've never seen in any president before.
He changed the political game. He
uses cuss words. He swears. He says, "I'll punch the guy in the face. He'll do this." But everybody is like, I understand it, because everybody in America is sitting in that same frustrated pilot seat going, gosh dang it, I work 60 hours a week and I have to put up with this narcissistic crap from politicians that want to tax the living crap out of me, give it to somebody else. Look what's happening in California. I mean, come on.
I tell you
I've worked 80 hours a week in my life, and I am very happy and proud of my successes, but damn it, it really pisses me off when politicians look at me and say, you know what, you're too wealthy. You need to give up half of your wealth and give it to somebody who doesn't want to work. And it's like, you know what, I do that with my churches. I do that with charitable organizations. I do that with my free time. I've done that on all my life. I've done that. But when the government comes in and snatches it away from me, and like they've done with the homeless issue, and all they've done is build the homeless industrial complex, building units at $700,000 a piece, and all the money is going to developers. Okay, and then it goes to nonprofit organization, and we watch the homeless count rise by 17% throughout the city of Los Angeles and 16% in the county of Los Angeles. We're talking serious numbers. In America as a whole, we have, in 2017, the count was 550,000 people living in the streets. That's 2017. It has gone up from there.
Yes, it has.
550,000. That's a huge amount of people.
But I'm going to get
so
back.
So what is going on with our politicians and the way in which they're addressing it? Is it another one of these emergent issues that, crises they're not going to let go to waste so they can make money and give it to their donors?
Yeah, well, that's what's going on. But to get back to the question,
one
that you
minute,
posed,
Ted.
okay.
You bring it home.
Okay, if as far as a symptom is concerned, I think Donald Trump's appeal, President Trump's appeal, is the fact that he says what a lot of people think, and he does it unabashedly, proudly, and for all the world to hear.
Yes.
And he doesn't care. And I'm going to say something that I said on Work Comp Manners, I believe. I might have even said on an early episode of The Voice of Reason. Donald Trump is a man, and this isn't racist, that every white man wants to be and every white woman wants to sleep with, wants to be with, wants to marry. Because what he is, and this is the best way I can put it, he's a destroyer. He stands for what he believes in. He's a buzzsaw. He will cut down anybody that stands in his way, and he has shown that he has demonstrated that. He has,
I think you're on to something.
But he has.
But I think that everybody does. I think
No, not always. Because see, you have to understand. When Donald Trump got elected, he broke every political mold there was out there. That's what he did. He was unlike any candidate before him, and has been like any president since then, or anyone that comes after him. I'm going to give you the last word, and I'm going to bring it on home.
I think that President Trump tapped into the fighting attitude that all of us have in society, and we're all tired of it, and that's it. But his decorum, Go ahead, Ted. Let's wrap the show up.
Okay.
We're done.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, listening audience, this concludes another episode of The Voice of Reason. We want to thank you for tuning in and welcoming us into your home, into your offices, for this political discourse that Mark and I have every week. Please be sure to tune in next week, where we will continue to regale you with political issues of the day in a civil manner. And remember, ignorance prevails when rational minds sit back and do nothing.
On that note, thank you again as well. You're watching two individuals, mature individuals, a Southern Democrat and a West Coast Republican,
Absolutely.
sit and talk about the issues of the day, and including Donald Trump. And you know what? We didn't get all WWF on each other. Tune in next week. We look forward to seeing you.
You've been listening to The Voice of Reason with Ted Durden and Mark Reed. The Voice of Reason is brought to you by TurchinLaw.com. If you need any employment, labor, or workers' compensation legal advice, TurchinLaw.com, 818-230-3110. We'll see you back again next week with Ted Durden and Mark Reed on The Voice of Reason.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Mark Reed and Ted Durden, only on LA Talk Radio.
The power of dreams. I am the front man who drives. My power keeps me ahead in the front line. My reputation gets me on the front page. Is how I drive superiority. By being in the front row.